Hey beauties, welcome back to Surreal Beauty. I'm Tiffany, aspiring mental health clinician, and today I really want to talk about something that I felt was super important. So I just came back from doing a little walk, and as I was on my walk, I was reflecting on some things that really spoke to me and I wanted to share. And as per the title, I'm sure you can understand where I'm going with this. But breaking up with my old self, I thought it was a powerful message to share, and I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate. So if any one of you guys have experienced growing out of the older version of self, right, where maybe we were a little bit more toxic, we engaged in behaviors, habits, patterns that just were not really ideal versions of our higher selves. This story is for you. This message is for you, and I'm here to share that today. Stay tuned. So as I was on my walk today, I really started to think about some of the habits that I used to engage in and just pretty much the person that I was entirely overall. As you walk on your journey of healing, as you are healing your inner child, a lot of these reflective moments will come about, sometimes spontaneously, sometimes when you're not really expecting it. And as of today, I definitely, as I was on my walk, I wasn't intentionally thinking about this specific topic, but it's something that I started to ponder on. And as I started just like thinking about the type of person that I was, right? Things that I was willing to accept, that I subjected myself to, how I operated and just handled myself. I operated from a place of fear, a lot of insecurity, and just like overall, I would say a low self-esteem and things of that sort. And a lot of that had to do with my upbringing, right? And just like, I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate, but as far as my specific situation, I definitely do come from a big family, but the parental figures were not really present. And so I do believe that our parents play such a significant role in the development of our biopsychosocial development. And what do I mean when I say that? I just mean like our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, our social well-being, psychosocial well-being, all of the above. And so I never really learned how to have confidence in myself. I never learned how to have self-love. I didn't understand the concept of self-care, how to stand up for myself, how to advocate for myself. These are things that our parents teach us, whether it be by modeling and showing us these behaviors and how they look, or just instilling that confidence through their words. And so I seen it on TV. I seen other people have confidence. I knew like the terms and the definition of this is confidence, this is high self-esteem, but I didn't really embody these things, right? So I used to think that I had confidence, right? But a lot of that was really abandonment issues, a lot of seeking validation, a lot of false ideations or thoughts or beliefs that I thought was confidence and it really wasn't. Really was a lot of insecurity and things like that. And so a lot of the decisions that I made as a young female through adolescence, teenage years, up until my early adulthood reflected those insecurities for sure. For some of y'all who've been following me, definitely know some of my story. I share a lot about some of the behaviors I engaged in. Be sure to check out some of my earlier videos. I share about doing a lot of, when I was an athlete, I dealt with a lot of insecurity, low self-confidence, low self-esteem. And my self-esteem was so low, I had definitely tapped into the adult industry. And I remember thinking that that's what I amounted. I objectified myself. I just felt really low and thought really low of myself. And this is all a part of the research that I'm interested in pursuing, which is healing the father wound. And what I mean by healing the father wound is I am a product of coming from a household without a father. I know a lot of women can identify with that, males as well. But I've been doing some extensive research on how the lack of a father figure, parental figures overall, but specifically the father, how an absent father can really detrimentally impact us young females and as we grow up to become women. And so I saw myself through as a sexual object. I didn't see myself as really being anything more than that. Even though I went to school, I pursued my, bachelor's and now my master's, excelled in school, things like that. But confidence is not something you can really learn in school. It is something that's cultivated within early on, and the sooner the better. And so I definitely was deprived of that, yearning for that love, attention, validation, affection. And because I didn't get it at home, I was seeking it in other places where I thought was healthy. And that's where I found myself working in the adult industry, putting myself in situations, subjecting myself to situations that were really toxic and unhealthy. And I mean, I've definitely hit, that's not even a real word. I've definitely hit rock bottom. But rock bottom, it's all about perspective. I think once you hit rock bottom, it's only up from there. But I definitely hit my rock bottom when I was working in the adult industry. And it was that time where I had to really look to God because I realized that no one was going to come save me. I had to find the strength and muster the strength within, look within, and seek my higher power. Seek that love that I was genuinely looking for, because again, I was looking for it in all the wrong places. And the more I was being fed this superficial type of attention and validation, the more I felt empty inside, the more that void within just felt even bigger and worse. And so I had to really start thinking and reflecting on, well, what's really going to give me the validation, or rather, what's going to really fulfill this void that I just cannot escape. And I definitely don't want to get super emotional. That's not what this is about. This is more of like a triumph, victorious story. But I had to look to God. I had to really get on my spiritual healing path. And that I can talk about that more in depth in another video, but it just took a lot of journaling, a lot of reflection, a lot of solitude, a lot of fasting, time alone to really come to self. This journey of healing and out with the old, in with the new, it takes time. Takes a lot of time, right? And so a lot of what I started to realize was that what I thought was love, what I thought was affection was not, right? It was, I can't even think of a word right now, but it was definitely the opposite of what I really wanted. What I thought was self-love, what I thought was going to heal me and fulfill me and satisfy me, were things that just really were not of God. Things were not truly of me, things that were not indicative of who my higher self was really calling me to be. And so when I started to understand that this is who I truly am, this is who I want to be, and I need to start behaving and operating and saying yes to the things that align with my higher self, was the moment I started to realize that I had to start saying no to the people, places, and things that did not serve my higher self. So a lot of y'all may understand what I'm saying. A lot of y'all may be in your rock bottom, or you are on your path of healing and healing that inner self, and you're working. I'm rooting for you. What I do want to say is, for a long time, I used to think it was impossible to move forward, to get out of that dark place. That is a lie. A lot of times our minds can play tricks, with us, thinking that we're stuck in a place, but really it's not. It's really a mind over matter type of ordeal, and mustering the inner strength to break through. It's almost like a mental captivity or bondage that we have to break out of, like it's an invisible prison. And so when I started to understand that, I started to seek, okay, what do I need to do on a consistent basis to break out of this mental prison? And so some of the things that I started to do, again, journaling, spending time in nature, really spending a lot of time in solitude and getting a close relationship and foundation with God. Those were the starting roots and the building blocks that allowed me to really find myself and move forward outside of the dark place. What did I learn as I journeyed through leaving the dark place and transitioning to get out of that rock bottom, is what we'll say. A lot of the journaling that I did, I spent time really pouring out through on the paper with my pen things that I was very afraid to tell people. Now, everyone may not relate to writing. I know some people don't like to write. So there are many alternative ways, right? It can be even because I know on our phones we can speak into like the notepads and it transcribes it for us. But there's something really, really, really powerful about letting your thoughts out. If there's not someone you can trust to do that with, I say therapists are really good, but if there's not someone you can really necessarily trust in this moment, I highly recommend you write it down because it gets out of your mind and it allows you to see on paper what's going on. And follow through what with that was a lot of crying, a whole lot of crying because as I wrote down a lot of my feelings and expressed emotions, I realized how damaged and broken I was. I realized most importantly that a lot of that hurt came from a place that truly wasn't my fault, and I took on blame and I held on to this burden that I did not necessarily need to hold on to, and yet I did. Right, I held on to this guilt, to the shame, and I like put it on as my armor. But when I learned that that is not really true, I'm a woman of God. God loves me. God loves all of us. And so I was able to slowly but surely start to see the love, the unconditional love that God has for me. I really started to open up my spiritual self and learn that I no longer have to stay in this place of brokenness. And that healing is not just for me, it's for everyone. So then you get to like a point of a crossroad, right? Where you have to ask yourself, do I want to stay comfortable, right, with my demons and my unhealthy habits and my negative patterns and toxic traits? Do I want to stay comfortable or do I want to change? And with change, that requires growth. It requires you becoming someone that you weren't before, meaning it's going to require you to do and be and engage and operate from a realm that you're not really comfortable with, you're not used to, it's foreign. And so you have to make a decision. And so I chose me. And as hard as it can be, as tough as moments can get, especially when we're feeling really weak, even in those moments, you have to choose you. And once you make the decision to choose yourself, which is, by the way, the greatest decision, life starts to really open up a new portal way. It opens up a new doorway. And I do mean that spiritually, but it's very interesting that what happens on the in your inner self and within your inner realm, you start to manifest it and project it into your outer realm. And so what do I mean when I say that? For example, when I started to love myself, when I started to do the things that embody self-love, right? So telling myself that I'm the greatest gift to God's world, right? And we call those words of affirmation. Taking care of myself in such a way, like taking care of my body, through my health, nutrition, making sure I like wash my hair, just regular, ordinary things to upkeep ourselves, and not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, overall. The moment I started to really love on me, I started to attract people naturally that loved me. It's very interesting how that began to work. The more I started to shower myself with the things that I was worthy of, it was the more I started to attract it in other people, other places, other things, from opportunities, and not just people, but also opportunities, experiences, things like that. It's really amazing how your world begins to shift once you start to choose yourself and make those changes. It's one step at a time. So if you find yourself being stuck, feeling stuck where you're at, you're not alone. And for you to even be aware that you're stuck, you are on a great journey. No one's perfect, right? No one's asking, I'm definitely not asking anyone to be perfect. What I am saying is that if you choose yourself, if you want to be better, if you want to align with your higher self, it is possible, right? And with support, with the right tools and resources and skills that you develop and cultivate along your journey, it is possible. And so through evolving, right, through taking the time of healing, because again, healing, I said before, it's not linear. Healing can look like taking 10 steps forward, 5 steps back, to 20 steps forward, to 15. That's just how it is, right? But we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to have self-compassion. We have to love on ourselves and truly understand at the core of who we are that, we've been broken and we are trying to rebuild ourselves. And the way I like to look at it is when you have a jar of glass and you drop it and the glass shatters everywhere. Now, you know, when you try to put the glass together, it's not going to be that perfect form as it once initially was, but it can be pieced back together. And so that's how I like to look at me and the actual situation that we're in, especially a lot of us who come from real troubled, traumatic backgrounds, homes, childhoods, things of that sort. So be gentle with yourself, and again, say yes to choose. If you learned anything from this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and definitely share with a friend or two. I'm definitely excited for this new series. I am actually touching into the last semester of my graduate program. I have 3 more months to go. I'm super excited to actually say that I have my master's, and I'm still on my way to becoming licensed. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or any experiences that you'd like to share, be sure to comment, and you can also email me. I do check my emails. I'd love to hear and connect with you guys. Until next time, I'll see y'all beauties.